Good evening, anyone and everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Cambodia VR Project podcast. This is Tom Nichols speaking to you on Friday evening, March 9th, from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I've been in the country for 18 days on this trip, and this is episode 18. I haven't quite recorded every day. I recorded a few episodes before I left. But the purpose of this podcast is to kind of document and, to help me unpack at the end of every day a project, an informal project that I'm here working on with a really great arts organization called Cambodian Living Arts, who I don't want to say is single-handedly responsible for restoring Cambodian traditional arts and culture after the terrible Pol Pot Khmer Rouge years, but they were certainly a big player in that restoration. As you may or may not know, artists were particularly singled out during the late 70s genocidal years led by Pol Pot and his Khmer Rouge. Perhaps he understood correctly that art is inherently subversive. The best art, real art, gets people to think for themselves, to be creative, to imagine that their thoughts and their own self-expression is worth something. Well, a Khmer Rouge autocratic style, complete control regime can't tolerate that kind of dimension in their society, so they probably killed 90%, 95%, maybe more of the artists in Cambodia. And Cambodia is traditionally an artistic country. They love their music and they love their dance and their costuming. The Khmer people are an artistic people, so in some ways what Pol Pot was doing and knew he was doing was cutting the heart and soul out of the country, and he almost succeeded. One young man who had escaped after the Pol Pot years, early in the Vietnamese occupation, was able to escape to Thailand, was adopted as a refugee in the United States, grew up there, and then as a young man came back to Cambodia and began the process of finding any surviving artists and trying to restore what had been a thriving and important part of Cambodia. His name is Arn Chornpond, and the organization that he founded became Cambodian Living Arts, is now a thriving enterprise. It touches post-conflict societies the world around. It's a model of cultural restoration for all of Southeast Asia and is among the most prominent players in the art community throughout Cambodia. I'm here to help them explore and consider the possibilities of extending their reach through new media technologies. My current interest is virtual reality, and what some people consider to be the kind of gateway drug to virtual reality, 360 videos, is what brought me here in the first place. I came with an old friend of mine who was involved with Arn Chornpond in Cambodian Living Arts in the early years. I came just to have some fun making 360 videos and ended up finding a lot more. This is my third time here now in the past year, and I've stayed for pretty extended periods of time, over a month at a time on each occasion. So that's kind of the background, and that brings me up to today. Some of the days I've been here, there have been explicit meetings or things I've gone off and done that were clearly involved in the project, and I could tell it was moving things forward. I spoke about it on these podcasts, and that's been some of the days. Other days, I do things, and it's not so clear, was that related to the project? What will that mean in the long run? I don't know. Today was one of those days. I met an older gentleman when I was here the last time, a recently retired person like myself, a guy fascinated by video like myself, really drawn to this newfangled 360 video like me, and we have formed quite a little bond. I was able to kind of lay a camera, my backup extra camera on him before I left last time, and he was off and running making 360 videos with it. We've worked together a couple of times since I've been here this time, and the reason I bring all this up is that, what's going to happen when I leave? There's kind of two sides to the way I'm now conceptualizing the project, and believe me, as I speak into this microphone here, I'm going to be thinking as I go. It's not like I know exactly what's going on and what I'm going to say, and I'm just going to say it. For me, the act of speaking helps my understanding, helps me sort of pull things together into a coherent whole. And I guess the way I would frame it is that a whole lot has gone on in the 2.5 weeks I've been here. I've taken a ride on the Khmer Magic Music Bus, more about that later, had a number of meetings with Cambodian Living Arts. Cambodian Living Arts themselves have gone through some important changes and readiness to take on some new types of capabilities just since I've been here. So I've had a broad plan all along. The specific things I thought that I would do when I came here, some of them I have, some of them I haven't. I've been in some ways swept along by events. I mean, I don't have to make things happen. Something happens that pulls me in. I'm either asked to a meeting or some sort of an event to go off to almost every day. So I'm in the process now of trying to, I guess I'd say about the midpoint of this stay, recalibrate or kind of re-scope out not so much my goals, maybe at some level the strategy and certainly the tactics. As I'm now seeing it on the side of me that wants to help the organization Cambodian Living Arts, my relationship there would be like a consultant, an advisor. I've been to a meeting with their video company to help ascertain if that is the company to help move them forward into 360 videos. I'll be meeting later with their fundraisers, and I hope to just stay kind of an active presence in their new steps forward in this area. When I'm not here, it should be possible to do some of that by Skype. Maybe they'll send me documents to comment on and send back. I don't know how it's going to play out, but that advisory role, it really means a lot to me. It means a lot that they want me to play that role. It means a lot to me that they've decided, now is the time to start trying to use new media one way or the other. That doesn't mean that they're going to develop a new media division of Cambodian Living Arts. Maybe they'll use partners or contractors. I don't think they know how it's going to play out, and I sure don't either. But the first step, as I alluded to before, is that they have a kind of standard traditional video company that they've worked with. Maybe that company can grow with them. We'll see. That would be the best. That would be, a great first step. Well, this older guy, Sve Sanut, has some video background. He worked in marketing and got involved in preparing videos. He just seems to also have a lot of savvy. So what I now see that I need to do, in some ways, in my capacity to help CLA move forward, I'd like to help them move forward with Chenla Media, their current video service provider. That would be the path of least resistance. It would be great if it could go that way because things would move forward very smoothly. Chenla, they seem to be like very smart people, really committed, but they're small. It takes everything they got to do the jobs they have now to pay the bills, and how are they going to find the time to learn this new stuff? It can be done. It's a challenge that every media company has to face, big or small, and maybe I can help them. And maybe Sve, my friend Sve, can be part of that. So we got together, Sve and I, this afternoon. He actually brought his son along. I'm quite sure why he did that. His son doesn't speak English, but I guess he is a graphic designer and an artist and a fairly skilled video camera person too, so it's good to see him and for him to see me. But the long and short of it is, I started to get the idea of if I can make sure that Sve has some sort of minimal but substantial setup here, he'll be able to move along the Chenla process. He's already got a camera. I found a Kickstarter campaign a while back. I threw $125 at it for the bargain price of what looked like it's going to be a good 360 camera at the end of their campaign. Well, it all played out. I got my camera, and I've now given that to Sve. The first camera that I loaned him isn't in such great shape right now because together we've both learned these cameras run hot. We knew that. I knew that from the technical specs anyway. But when you got a camera that already runs hot and you try to get it to record in the heat of Cambodia, you just can't run it very long. And he ran his too long. The camera's still okay, but it's flaky now, and the battery isn't charging right. But he's got another one now. Furthermore, I donated a nice 360 camera to Cambodian Living Arts. It should also be available. In other words, Chenla shouldn't have to do its earliest learning laying out money. There's already a camera here they can experiment with. It's not being used all that much. So Sve, of course, he's sort of hoping to develop his own independent little video company, I guess. I don't think he has big grandiose visions of it. Maybe he does. We spent a lot of time together, but it's still hard to read. But he understood what I was saying, that the first step that we have to do is try to make Chenla Media be successful. And he can help them do that. And I can help him help them do that by making sure he's got a few more pieces than he has right now. I'm not going to lay a whole bunch of stuff on him, but I think I will be laying a little bit of equipment on him. He needs a lot. He needs a big hard drive. He needs a couple other things too. But if he's got that set up, then he is in the perfect position to show Chenla how to do things, to really accelerate their learning curve, to make sure they don't have to spend money that they don't really need to spend, just kind of let them see how it's done. He's going to have to be ego-free to do that. Chenla will probably see him as a potential threat. He's going to have to assure them, no, I'm working with Tom. We're trying to help Cambodian Living Arts. That means helping you learn it right now. That's what I'd like to do. That's what I had to say to Savai today. I think he got it. And I think he's willing and happy to play that role. Him having a modest little setup has another benefit too, which is that the other aspect of how I conceptualize this informal project isn't that kind of advisory role to CLA. It's more, I like to roll up my sleeves and produce some stuff too. I know I'm not that great at it. I'm not a video artist. What I am is someone who kind of figures out the idea for something fast. Often I can see things before other people do, and I can make a prototype of it so people can go, oh yeah, we hadn't quite seen it that way before. And my prototype won't be awesome. I'll never be able to make things good enough that'll go into mass distribution and all that kind of stuff. But maybe my prototype can lead to people with more artistic capability than me to make some of my ideas into something that could go real, could go global. And that is the other half of my plan, which is that I think we need to make a TV show out of the Khmer Magic Music Bus. I've described that briefly, but if this is your first podcast, you need to know that Arn Chorn Pond, guy who started Cambodian Living Arts, a really driven guy. Sometimes driven founders aren't the right person to lead a grown-up corporation. So there's a new CEO now who's a great guy, Plume Prim. I just have nothing but respect for him. And Arn understood this. Every once in a while he sort of says the founder has lost his power. And the nature of what Cambodian Living Arts is actually doing isn't exactly the same as it was, when Arn started it up. They don't have to go looking for artists anymore. That's in place. So Arn still wants to be close to the music. He is an artist. He plays the flute. And what he conceptualized a couple of years ago was the idea of having a bus that would take a group of musicians out to far-reaching villages throughout the provinces of Cambodia and perform, play for kids and play for adults, old people in particular, who hadn't heard their own traditional Khmer music for a generation because the music really did die. So that's the Khmer Magic Music Bus. You hear that? That's an amazing story. People going out to remote areas and playing this music that, it seemed like it had died. Old people get pretty emotional about it, and I'm not just saying that. I saw it last week, I guess it was last week, when I was here. I did ride with the bus out to a village that hadn't heard music like this for a generation, and I saw really old ladies just, they were kind of overcome by it. Of course, I also saw a couple hundred kids just flip out at the sensation of a large blue bus with pictures of Khmer musical instruments on it drive into their school and perform for them. It was really one of the high events I've ever been involved with, and I took my first crack at doing some 360 video recording of it. It's not easy, and there are problematic dimensions to it. I probably ran my camera a little bit too long too, although maybe not quite as long as Sanush, so one of my cameras is a little flaky now too. But in any event, I rode the bus, I saw it, I saw how real it is, I saw how cool the musicians are. When they're on the bus riding out, they're singing and playing. They each have very interesting individual stories too. So the story of the bus is the story of this group of musicians going out and playing very special situation music throughout Cambodia. But then there's stories about each individual to drill down on too, and how would I use both standard video and this immersive 360 video to tell the story? Well, I got some ideas, and now we're back to Svai again, because I've made some good stuff while I'm here, and I'll be making some more, and I'll take it away with me, take it back home again and work on it. But I'm going to want more. I want to make episode 1, 2, 3, 4. I see every episode being the Khmer Magic Music Bus goes to this village. Next episode goes to that village. They'll just be the coolness of going to the village and, the obstacles and the weird stuff that happens along the way. But I also hope to drill down on the people, like it's an ensemble cast, and using 360 video for that, and things that we learn in early episodes and wonder if she's going to work things out with her boyfriend, or if her daughter will get well, and all the kind of things that are going to come up in the lives of the people. We'll learn about that episode by episode. It'll unfold. That's where Sanuch can come in. I have some material to get it started now, but to really start to tell those individual stories, someone is going to have to find the time to sit down with, 3, 4, 5 of the musicians and do some in-depth 360 video interviews with them, maybe in different places even. And I'm hoping that Sanuch can do that. I'm hoping that by, modestly seeding his capability here, it will be helping him, because I'm not saying, this is my equipment that you're going to be borrowing. No, I will help him buy equipment, and he'll do things with it I can't even imagine. But I have to make my expectations clear that I want him to do a fair amount of what will be the in-depth part of the story of the bus. And he's the right guy to do it, too. He's so non-intimidating, has a very light presence. He speaks Khmer, of course, and he speaks English, fairly well, too. Can he be the interviewer? In addition to being the person that sets up the video and make it happen? I don't know. He might have to work with someone else. We'll see. All to be determined. Well, that was the big project thing today. I met with him and talked about just what I'm telling you now for a couple hours. It was really interesting having this kind of a conversation with an older gentleman here in Phnom Penh, but I did. And I think he got it. I think that just what I have now described, these kind of two different aspects of the informal project going on, how he can play a role in it, how I can help him play that role. I think so. I felt really good about it. And that's the important project-related development today. That's what I said at the beginning. Time will tell. I mean, maybe other things are going to happen, and I'll think that the whole model of Svai being some sort of a mini, setup here isn't such a good idea. I don't know. It sure seems good right now. I had a couple other things I did today I'll mention briefly. Before I got together with Svai, I had lunch with Bun Rith, who had been my main Cambodian Living Arts contact. Among many other things Cambodian Living Arts is doing is that in Cambodia, the number of required hours of school attendance is increasing. They had the lowest required number in all of Asia, and now they're starting to boost that up. And part of what will fill that new time is arts education, because there isn't any now. And Cambodian Living Arts is very actively involved in the process of putting arts education into the curriculum, making sure teachers are trained to be able to then implement it. And Bun Rith is kind of the point man on that. I thought that I might be more directly involved in that also. And I have actually spoken to high school kids here several times. I was hoping we could start a 360 video club. It didn't quite happen. Change in education is glacial, and kind of that side of what I was involved in is not the main thing right now. Maybe at another time it'll pick up. But I really like Bun Rith a lot. I consider him my friend. I hadn't seen him in about a week, so we just had lunch and caught up, and I let him know what was happening. And then I took him over to that co-working space, The Desk. I talked about it on earlier podcasts, where I met some young Cambodian techies that I brought over to the lunch we had the other day, where we got together, a small group of artists, a small group of techies, put a little bit of structure around it, and just let them meet and see what would happen. It was a really neat event. Some of the tech people that came, I had met in this co-working space. Well, they were having a pizza party at lunch today. I got invited to it. So I thought it might be fun for Bun Rith and I to catch up, have a little bit of lunch over at the pizza party, and then to let him see the desk also. So I did that, and it also ends up deepening my relationship with North, the young Cambodian property developer guy who's managing the desk. I think he's going to be a player. I think he's going to be a key relationship if I'm able to stay with this for a number of years that I hope I will. And then I guess one last thing, there was an evening event this evening at Panathustra It's a Buddhist university here in Phnom Penh, probably the most respected private university, certainly in Phnom Penh, maybe in the country. And I have a friend who I met through ARN, through Al Morgan, my old friend who I came here with in the first place. Her name is Susan Hagedorn. She's an American who came here quite some time ago. I'm going to start my life in Cambodia, and she has worked her way along and is now, I think, like the associate dean of the School of Arts and Humanities at this university. And there was an event there this evening on early photography in Cambodia, and it was particularly of interest to me. First of all, I like photography and I like Cambodian history, and I'm in a Cambodian history book reading group. And last week we were talking about exactly the period, the late 1800s, in which the very first Europeans, one Scotchman, John Thompson, and a couple of Frenchmen, came to Cambodia and photographed Angkor Wat. It was quite amazing for Europeans to behold Angkor Wat in the first place. I mean, they had no idea something like that was there. And it was very difficult in the 1860s, 1870s to take photographs. They had to haul the whole darkroom to Angkor Wat and develop the stuff right there on the spot. They weren't putting it on film then. They were putting it on glass plates and special kinds of paper. So anyway, there was a kind of a talk and a showing of that kind of early photographic history, or the early history of photographing Cambodia, which really means photographing the king, the royal family, Angkor Wat. But there was one French photographer who somehow managed to get out and just take some photographs also of people, just what regular people looked like and where they lived in their houses in the countryside. So it was really fun to see them. And that was my evening activity. I then have come back to my room. I am speaking with you once again, my faithful podcast audience, but no reason to talk any longer than I really need to do what I wanted to do. So that is the wrap up for episode 18. Bye for now.